4 years ago, in the middle of a pandemic and on the heels of what many called a stolen election, even though it wasn't, Idaho's legislature tried to make it a crime for anyone to drop off more than 2 absentee ballots at a time. Well, during the debate on that bill, House Speaker Mike Moyle, who was then House Majority Leader, he said, you know what? Voting shouldn't be easy. Well, that ballot harvesting bill died in the House that day, but since then, there's been some attempt to limit how or who can use an absentee ballot. There's a number of reasons someone would request an absentee ballot. Maybe they're going on a vacation on Election Day, overseas serving in the military, or maybe in a care facility. Or maybe it's just because it's easier than dealing with the hassle of Election Day. But House Bill 139 wants to narrow that even more, a limiting list of specific reasons. Bill sponsor Joe Alfieri says broadening the use of absentee ballots opens up to potential voter fraud in Idaho, something that really hasn't happened in Idaho. Hunter Funk sat in on the hearing, which ended up more like a harmonious plea.
And I have a question.
There was a chorus of testimony.
What's it all about, Alfieri? Is it just 'cause there might be some fraud? What's it all about when you sort it out, Alfieri? Do you mean to decide who can vote?
So what is this bill all about, Alfieri?
So the biggest problem with the absentee ballot is that you don't have a chain of custody. We don't know for a fact where that ballot came from.
He says in-person voting is easy to verify. You stand in front of the clerk, provide your identification, and submit your ballot at the site, making it easy to confirm you are who you say you are.
Absolutely secure process.
As for an absentee ballot, he says it's where potential voter fraud could happen.
Is the clerk a forensic writing expert? Can they absolutely, with 90% accuracy, verify that ballot? We don't know that for certain. We also don't know if that person who is filling out that ballot is being influenced by somebody else.
But among those testifying against the bill,
Secretary of State Phil McGrain,
the man responsible for running Idaho's election.
I don't think this legislation achieves the intended result. It doesn't increase the security of absentee balloting at all. It merely reduces the access to absentee balloting.
McGrain says a majority of Idahoans voted early and in person, but of the 5.3% of Idahoans who absentee voted in the primaries, 2/3 would not be allowed to vote according to this legislation.
This is one of those tools for people whose lives just don't align with being able to show up to the polls on Election Day.
McGrain says it's important to make voting easy for everyone to participate in. As for the concerns about signature fraud, McGrain says each clerk attends a forensic signature verification training, and some of those ballots do get rejected due to signature inconsistencies.
I will say a rejection is either someone didn't sign their absentee ballot or a spouse signed the other ballot, and you still can't count it in that case.
With a long discussion, 2 motions were brought forth.
I move to send House Bill 139 to the floor with a do pass recommendation.
my substitute motion would be that we hold House Bill 139 in committee, and I would ask for a roll call vote.
For both motions, there was a 7-7 tie, meaning it failed in committee.
Committee, that's all for today. We're adjourned.
And while absentee ballots weren't on the list for concerns for Secretary of State, when it comes to election fraud, now there was an RS introduced today in the committee. It's for an election data cleanup. It's to make sure voter rolls are accurate, meaning ensuring non-citizens, those who have died or live in a different state, aren't in the system. That was approved to be printed and it will be read in committee.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's already a thing where they kind of go through the voter rolls and clean it out. I think they did that before the last general election.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see what happens with this one, if there is anything specifically different with that one. But that was one thing that he was saying, well, this is what we want to make happen. So
maybe it happens more frequently with this new one. We'll see. All right, thank you very much, Hunter.